Lovely, me too. Welcome everyone to the 2023 Washington State Poetry Out Loud competition. Can we get a round of applause? Well, we're so happy to welcome you here today. My name is Pham. I'm this year's Seattle's Youth Poet Laureate. But today I have the incredible privilege of guiding you through this incredible event. It'll be full of poetry performed by even more incredible, talented poets and students. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Poetry Out Loud is a national program that works similar to a spelling bee, but cooler. Students are introduced to the program at the classroom level and they participate in the classroom and then at the school-wide competition. And then the school competitions go to 4 regional finals. The top scoring students from those regional finals, plus the top student from this year's Poetry Out Loud virtual cohort are reciting here today, and one of them will become the Washington State Poetry Out Loud champion. which is super cool because they'll also get to represent our state in the national finals taking place in Washington, D.C. in May. So you get to go from Washington to Washington, D.C. It's a big step. I'd also like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of the Puyallup people, past and present, where they make their home and speak the Lushootseed language. We honor and express our gratitude to the land itself, and we encourage each of you to learn about the land, legacies, and stories of the indigenous communities who have called the Pacific Northwest home since time immemorial. As we're here today to share the power of language and poetry as presented by 9 students from across and around the state, here to say a little bit more about Poetry Out Loud and arts and education in Washington State, please give a round of applause to Program Manager Tamar Craves.
Thank you, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here. Let's all just take a nice deep breath. We're in person! Yay! Let me begin by saying how excellent it is to see you all. I'm so honored to be here with you today to celebrate the work of these 9 courageous regional champions. I'm really fortunate, like deeply fortunate, to work at an intersection of the arts, education, and equity efforts. It's what I'm passionate about, and I'm so honored to do this work. As the Arts and Education Program Manager for the Washington State Arts Commission, which if you haven't figured it out already is the same as ArtsWA. So as the Arts and Education Program Manager at ArtsWA, I collaborate with an amazing arts and education team. Many are here today helping out and making this event possible. Our arts and education programs support experiences like this one, celebrating the ongoing work of students, educators, and artists throughout Washington State. The Arts and Education program expands arts education engagement and access through grants, professional learning opportunities for educators, youth leadership opportunities in the arts and cultural field, and ongoing research. I encourage you to explore the many paths of our work on the ArtsWA website, and feel free to reach out to me or anyone in our arts and education team if you're passionate about arts and education and want to learn more about what we do. I have some specific Poetry Out Loud folks to thank and celebrate. We're very grateful this year to this year's POL Teacher Liaison, Carolyn Gilman, who is also the 2023 Capital Region ESD 113 Teacher of the Year. Her can-do passion for building connections through poetry and language arts is contagious, and we celebrate and honor her efforts. Carolyn, would you stand up for a second? I wish I had a shirt that just said "I heart teachers" because I would wear it today. I really do love teachers so much. I also want to celebrate our partners across the state, the Skagit River Poetry Foundation in Mount Vernon, Educational Service District 112 in Vancouver, Yakima Valley College, Spokane Arts, and of course Tacoma Little Theatre. You'll see the names of all of our regional coordinators as well as the lead teachers for all registered schools in this year's program booklet. And if you're interested in a digital copy, you can scan one of the posted QR codes that's around the house here at the theater, and you can also find it on the Poetry Out Loud page of the ArtsWA website. How many teachers, past, present, retired, active, educators in the room? Could you raise your hand, please, today? Woohoo! As a longtime teacher myself, we work hard. Teachers work so deep and hard, and I am so grateful for all of the work before, during, through COVID. Thank you so much for all that you do. What you'll experience today is an offering of poetry elevated through the format of a competition. But Poetry Out Loud is so much more than a competition. What you cannot see here today are over 12,000 students and their educators who connected with poetry and with each other through this program. Poetry and other forms of creative expression can offer life-affirming, sometimes life-saving experiences for youth and their educators and their families. Please, let's keep these programs going. They are so meaningful. And now it is my pleasure to introduce to you a very special guest. Since he last stood on a POL stage, he has attended and graduated from Harvard, earned his Master of Education, taught high school, mentored youth in his community, and is currently working on his Juris Doctor degree at Stanford Law School. We are so very pleased that he chose to join us today. Please welcome the 2012 and 2013 Washington State Poetry Out Loud champion and the 2013 Poetry Out Loud National Champion, Langston Ward.
It's great to be here back in Tacoma after 10 years. It's good to see the band still at it. It's actually the fourth time I've got to hear you guys play. It's so weird. Yeah, it's great. I am not going to take up too much time because this is about watching the incredible poets and reciters that we're going to see here in a moment. I want to take my time to actually just address you as a group. You have done something brave, you've done something special, and you've done something exceptional by even showing up here today. And by making the decision to do something that some people might call weird, poetry, and to recite it, and to do it at such a high level, to come here and to share your gift with all of us is something that I'm looking forward to being on the receiving end of. I would encourage you, no matter what happens today, to not forget that you have a gift. That if you are the winner today, who gets to go to Washington, D.C., and will have the best experience of your high school by far, you're going to have a wonderful experience. Even if you don't go to Washington, D.C., when you're done here today, don't forget that you have a gift. Poetry recitation and the ability to share something with the world that is inside of you is something you need to protect and something you need to carry forward with you for the rest of your life. So if someone ever asks you to recite a poem at Thanksgiving, like my mom does every Thanksgiving, or a friend finds out that you did poetry out loud in college and says, "Can you recite something?" you should say yes, because it is a gift. And when you take the time to give a gift to someone, the gift of poetry, they remember it and they appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to receiving that from you today. So just want to give you all a round of applause for being brave, stepping out of maybe your comfort zone and doing something that is unexpected and different, and that will ultimately make all of us here today think about and reflect on the meaning of life, the meaning of art. So thank you.
ArtsWA has invited a diverse group of artists and educators to score today's recitations, and you can read more about them in your program booklet. The judges will score recitations using the National Poetry Out Loud evaluation criteria, and they'll score with great care, so don't worry. I'm pleased to introduce these outstanding individuals serving as Poetry Out Loud State Final judges. Judges, if you would please stand when I call your name. Heidi Ihala, from the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction. Andre Bouchard, from the Washington State's Art Commissioner. Myra Cortez, educator at Lincoln High School in Tacoma Public Schools. Ashley McBunch, who is the current Olympia Poet Laureate. And Kate Meyer, faculty at Cornish College of the Arts. Each poem must be recited exactly as it was written by the poet. An additional judge will be scoring today's recitations for technical accuracy, word by word. From the ArtsWA's Arts in Public Places program, I'm pleased to welcome Heidi Fernandez Llamazares, who will be serving as our accuracy judge today. Thank you so much, judges, for your support and for all you do in the world of arts and education. We really appreciate you. In today's program, there will be 3 rounds. All the recitations you will hear are of poems selected from the Poetry Out Loud anthology, which includes over 1,100 classical and contemporary poems. They've chosen the best ones, so you don't have to read the whole thing, but you're welcome to. At the end of the second round, we'll introduce the 3 students with the highest accumulated scores, and then move into the third and final round. One of those students will become this year's state champion. It's now my pleasure to introduce the 2023 Washington State Regional Champions participating in today's final championships. In person once again for the first time since 2020, and in all their grandeur, students, as I call your name, please join me on stage. Sydney Frost from Mount Spokane High School in Spokane. Andrea Jima from Annie Wright Upper School for Girls in Tacoma. Oliver Jones from Stadium High School in Tacoma. Elijah Kennedy Gibbons from Meade High School in Spokane. Keegan Robb, representing Poetry Out Loud Virtual. Keegan lives in Little Theatre. Emily Shoemaker from Natchez Valley High School in Natchez. Dahami Uduana from Kamayakan High School in Kennewick. Matthew Valentine from Olympia High School in Olympia. And last but not least, Jovi Weller from Squim High School in Squim. Congratulations to all of you. You can take a bow if you would like to and take a seat. Feel free to take your seats. Except for one of you. Oh, Sydney. All right, are we ready for some poetry?
If on your grandmother's birthday you burn a candle to honor her memory, you might think of burning an extra to honor the memory of someone who never met her, a man who may have come to the town she lived in looking for work and never found it. Picture him taking a stroll one morning after a month of grief with the Wa'ats to refresh himself in the park before moving on. Suppose he notices on the gravel path the shards of a green glass bottle that your grandmother, then still a girl, will be destined to step on when she wanders barefoot away from her school picnic if he doesn't stoop down and scoop the mess up with the Wa'at section and carry it to a trash can. For you to burn a candle for him, you needn't suppose the cut would be a deep one, just deep enough to keep her at home the night of the hayride when she meets Helen, who is soon to become her dearest friend, whose brother George, 30 years later, helps your grandfather with a loan so his shoe store doesn't go under in the Great Depression. And his son, your father, is able to stay in school where his love of learning is fanned into flames, a love he labors later to kindle in you. How grateful you are for your father's efforts is shown by the candles you've burned for him. but today, for a change. Why not a candle for the man whose name is unknown to you? Take a moment to wonder whether he died at home with friends and family or alone on the road, on the lookout for no one to sit at his bedside and hold his hand, the very hand it's time for you to imagine holding.
Cartoon Physics, Part 1, by Nick Flynn. Children under, say, 10, shouldn't know that the universe is ever expanding, inexplorably pushing into the vacuum, galaxies swallowed by galaxies, whole solar systems collapsing. All of it acted out in silence. At 10, we are still learning the rules of cartoon animation. That if a man draws a door on a rock, only he can pass through it. Anyone else who tries will crash into the rock. 10-year-olds should stick with burning houses, shipwrecks, cars going down, earthbound, tangible disasters, arenas where they can be heroes. You can run back into a burning house. Sinking ships have lifeboats. The trucks will come with their ladders. If you jump, you will be saved. A child places her hand on the roof of a school bus and drives across a city of sand. She knows the exact spot it will skid, at which point the bridge will give, who will swim to safety, and who will be pulled under by sharks. She will learn that if a man runs off the edge of a cliff, he will not fall until he notices his mistake.
The Cave by Paul Trank. Someone standing at the mouth had the idea to enter, to go further than light or language could go. As they followed the idea, light and language followed, like two wolves, panting, hearing themselves panting, a shapeless scent in the damp air. Keep going, the idea said. Someone kept going. Deeper and deeper, they saw others had been there. Others had left objects that couldn't have found their way there alone. Ochre-stained shells, bird bones, grounded hematite. On the walls, as if stepping into history, someone saw their purpose. Cows, bulls, bison, deer, horses. Some pregnant, some slaughtered. The wildlife seemed wild and alive, moving when someone moved, casting their shadows on the shadows stretching in every direction. Keep going, the idea said again. Go. Someone continued. They followed the idea so far inside that outside was another idea.
Dirge in Woods by George Meredith. A wind sways the pines, and below, not a breath of wild air. Still, as the mosses that glow on the flooring and over the lines of the roots here and there. The pine tree drops its dead. They are quiet as under the sea. Overhead, overhead rushes life in a race as the clouds chase. And we go. And we drop like the fruits of the tree. Even we, even so.
On the Death of Anne Bronte by Charlotte Bronte. There's little joy in life for me, and little terror in the grave. I've lived the parting hour to see of one I would have died to save. Calmly to watch the failing breath, wishing each sigh might be the last, longing to see the shade of death over those beloved features cast. The cloud, the stillness, that must part the darling of my life from me, and then to thank God from my heart, to thank him well and fervently. Although I knew that we had lost the hope and glory of our life, and now benighted, tempest-tossed, must bear alone the weary strife.
America, I Sing You Back by Allison Adele Hedge Coke. For Phil Young and my father, Robert Hedge Coke. For Whitman and Hughes. America, I sing back what song you win. Sing back the moment, you cherished breath. Sing you home into yourself and back to reason. Before America began to sing, I sung her to sleep. Held her cradle board, wept her into day. My song gave her creation, prepared her delivery, held her severed cord, beautifully beaded. My song helped her stand, held her hand for first steps, nourished her very being, fed her, placed her 3 sisters strong. My song comforted her as she battled my reason, broke my long-held footing, sure, as any child might do. As she pushed herself away, forced me to remove myself. As I cried this country, my song grew roses in each tear's fall. My blood-veined rivers, painted pipestone quarries, circled canyons, while she made herself maiden fine. But here I am, here I remain high on each and every peak, carefully rumbling her great underbelly, prepared to pour forth singing. And sing again I will, as I have always done, never silenced, unless in the company of strangers, singing the stoic face, polite repose, polite while dancing deep inside out again. When I call her back to cradle, call her to peer into waters, to behold herself in dark and light, day and night. Call her to sing along, call her to mature, to envision. Then she will quake herself over. My song will make it so. When she grows far past her self-considered purpose, I will sing her back. Sing her back. I will sing. Oh, I will. I do. America, I sing back. Sing back what song you in.
The Mortician in San Francisco by Randall Mann. This may sound queer, but in 1985 I held the delicate hands of Dan White. I prepared him for burial. By then, Harvey Milk was made monument. No, myth, by the years since he was shot. I remember when Harvey was shot, 20, and I knew I was queer. Those were the years, Levi's and leather jackets, holding hands on Castro Street, cheering for Harvey Milk, elected on the same day as Dan White. I often wonder about Supervisor White, who fatally shot Mayor Moscone, and Supervisor Milk, who was one of us, a Castro queer. May 21st, 1979, a jury hands down the sentence, 7 years, in truth, 5 years for ex-cop, ex-fireman Dan White, for the blood on his hands. When he confessed that he had shot the mayor and the queer, a few men in blue cheered, and Harvey Milk. Why cry over spilled milk, some wondered semi-privately for years. It meant one less queer. The jurors turned to White. If just the mayor had been shot, Dan might have had trouble on his hands. But the 12 who held his life in their hands maybe didn't mind the death of Harvey Milk. Maybe the second murder offered him a shot at serving only a few years. In the end, he committed suicide, this Dan White, and he was made presentable by a queer.
Harold and the Purple Crayon by D. Gilson. Berkeley psychologist told Harold his anger was justified. What parents let their child go for a midnight walk under no moon? I couldn't have been more than 4, Harold told the doctor in her crisp beige office. Doctor, could it ever be okay for a 4-year-old to eat 9 different types of pie? He asked. Call me Lisa, the doctor replied. Everyone knew Harold could draw. By sophomore year, he was critiquing grad students. By 20, Harold knew exactly when to quote Sontag. Standing in front of a professor's latest pastel of Mojave succulents, this just makes me think how in place of a hermeneutics, we need an erotics of art. Harold's professors would hum and nod their dragon heads, though none of them understood exactly what Harold said. By senior year, Harold became distant, his work increasingly angry. Apple trees, their fruit rotting in monochrome purple, under the notable lack of moon.
Thank you again and to you all, we have officially completed round 1. Round of applause. Welcome back, everyone. How was intermission? Fun, but not as fun as poetry. So glad we're back. Before we begin round 2, I was actually asked to share one of my poems that I wrote a while ago, and following in Langston's example, I should say yes. So I will say, I'll consider it, and then I'll say yes. On behalf of Seattle Arts and Lectures, which is the program that I've been working with throughout the year, the Seattle Youth Poet Laureate program aims to identify young writers and leaders committed to poetry, performance, civic and community engagement, education, and equity across the Puget Sound region. We're actually looking for applications for next year's cohort as well, so keep an eye out for that, and I encourage especially all of you talented students to apply if it calls to you. All right, so this is a poem that I wrote for my mom. It's titled Shipmakers. When mother came to land, she in her hands carried nothing. The fatherland, a lustrous wreck of war, the girl in the picture running, burning. If only my grandmother understood the things she photographed with her eyes. My grandfather, his hands, a topography dated back, tinkering with a piece of copper. Do we know if he is stitching a bomb shelter or a boat full of stars? Little girl, brown eyes, sun-kissed skin as skin can be, refugee. Takes between stretch of shaky breath, her smile, a dream so small you could say kids are all just dreamers. Children of the landlocked, we run to shore back up all the hurt we fielded. That was not our fault. We paint the sky red, mold a ceramic hand to hold us through. Sing song, sing song. I, daughter of displaced daughter, come to school with a backpack of water so dense you could have her. Paint the sky red, or learn to swim in cold cathartic ocean, or return thoughtfully to a verse of history not laced by sea ghosts, or maybe teach her to latch onto this art form and not this burning body. Maybe sail her back to Saigon before it ends. Because how do you explain heartbreak to a kid? How do you console us who have lost our loved land, looking back over shoulders at a mother that does not properly exist today? I come to school with questions. How can you still hold me from the other side of this shipwrecked song? How do you mend a beat of sky, paint the sky red? How can I explain that my Asianness is for aesthetic purposes only, not to be tragedy any further? Recall that many words are dead in my tongue. I cannot English my way back into a first language, but at least I can phoneticize vernacular grief through this verse of art. So I tell this story not because it hurts, or because I want to illustrate the arts of burning, but because I want to say thank you. You taught me how to catch fire, how to light a passion project and fan the flames, how to paint the sky red. When the boat catches fire and it is our turn to kiss the water breath like a phone on hold, you ask me to write. A part of myself I cannot see. You say writing is just like boat making, and maybe this art making could save me. So for the first 2 decades of my life, I build a boat and sail it to the center of the ocean. Sitting silly in a 4th grade classroom, light spills breath, mixed voice, the same way Mrs. Freeman guides us into what I now name artful liberation. She says to brainstorm, and so I do. I dance into tsunami, politicize hurricane, synthesize the storm, which is to say, in the aftermath of 1,000 sunders, we will paint the sky, more sun. Because did you know the ocean is blue, the sky is blue only because the ocean is. That when history spoke blood into ocean, we came to America to paint the sky red, not because it was abstractly beautiful, but because it was a true reflection. That is why when I come to class, I paint the sky red and the ocean too. I paint for all who swim outside these shores, who build boats and life jackets and float sewing survival out of reckless imagination. I am grateful for you. Those who lifeguard, those who watch without limitation, drifting us onto better days, boats big enough to carry our dreams to shore. It is because of this port language that we arrive at this pier, where the same hands before me held nothing. In my hands before me, in my hands there are a boat full of stars that are burning, so that when I look up, I see that I have everything. Thank you. Thank you so much. And now it's time for round 2. We'll hear our students recite their second poems, and in this round, students will be presented in alphabetical order by last name again, but this time we're starting in the middle of the alphabet at R, and then going to Z, and then we'll return to the beginning of the alphabet and conclude with A through P. At the end of the round, we'll find out who goes on to round 3, but to start off round 2, please welcome to the stage Keegan Robb.
La Filia che Piange by T.S. Eliot. O quam te memoram vergo. Stand on the highest pavement of the stair. Lean on a garden urn. Weave the sunlight in your hair. Clasp your flowers to you with a pained surprise. Fling them to the ground and turn with a fugitive resentment in your eyes. But weave the sunlight in your hair. So I would have had him leave. So I would have had her stand and grieve. So he would have left, as the soul leaves the body, torn and bruised, as the mind deserts the body it has used. I should find some way incomparably light and deft, some way we both should understand, simple and faithless as a smile and a shake of the hand. She turned away. But with the autumn weather, compelled my imagination many days and many hours, her hair over her arms and her arms full of flowers. And I wonder how they should have been together. I should have lost a gesture and a pose. Sometimes these cogitations still amaze the troubled midnight, and the noon's repose.
Siren Song by Margaret Atwood. This is the one song everyone would like to learn. The song that is irresistible. The song that forces men to leap overboard in squadrons even though they see the beach skulls. The song nobody knows, because anyone who has heard it is dead, and the others can't remember. Shall I tell you the secret? And if I do, will you get me out of this bird suit? I don't enjoy it here, squatting on this island looking picturesque and mythical. With these two feathery maniacs, I don't enjoy singing this trio fatal and valuable. I will tell the secret to you, only to you. Come closer. This song is a cry for help. Help me! Only you can! You are unique at last. Alas, it is a boring song, but it works every time.
Dawn by Ella Higginson. The soft-toned clock upon the stair chimed 3, too sweet for sleep, too early yet to rise. In restful peace I lay with half-closed eyes, watching the tender hours go dreamily. The tide was flowing in. I heard the sea shivering along the sands, while yet the skies were dim, uncertain, as the light that lies beneath the fretwork of some wild rose tree within the thicket gray. The chanticleer sent drowsy calls across the slumberous air. In solemn silence sweet, it was to hear my own heart beat. Then, broad and deep and fair, trembling in its new birth from heaven's womb, one crimson shaft of dawn sank through my room.
Numbers by Mary Cornish. I like the generosity of numbers. The way, for example, they are willing to count anything or anyone. 2 pickles, 1 door to the room, 8 dancers, dressed as swans. I like the domesticity of addition. Add 2 cups of milk and stir, the sense of plenty. 6 plums on the ground, 3 more falling from the tree. And multiplication's school of fish times fish, whose silver bodies breed beneath the shadow of a boat. Even subtraction is never lost, just addition somewhere else. 5 sparrows, take away 2, the 2 in someone else's garden now. There's an amplitude to long division as it opens Chinese takeout box by paper box, inside every folded cookie a new fortune. And I never fail to be surprised by the gift of an odd remainder footloose at the end. 47 divided by 11 equals 3, equals 4, with 3 remaining. 3 boys beyond their mother's call. 2 Italians off to the sea, one sock that isn't anywhere you look.
I Eat Breakfast to Begin the Day by Zubair Ahmed. I create time. I cannot create time. I'm frozen in place. I cannot be frozen. I'm moving. But don't notice. I notice me moving. I pay attention to the small, yet immense, yet small movements that guide my limbs, my hair growth, my joint oils. I don't think about it. I don't feel it either. I don't have emotions right now. I see films of divine quality. I don't see any films. This black, this not black. To me, I am. I am not, to me not. I walk with this hollowness. I walk with this blooming, moving outward, forever, onward, eternally inward. I create all objects, like shampoos and cats. I create nothing, like space and antimatter. I resign to the clocks that keep time. I surrender to the clocks that don't keep time. I'm sure about it. The color white? I'm not sure about it. What is word? Oh, the loops and unloops. Destiny unfolds in my knees. I eat breakfast to begin the day. Thank you.
My Dad and Sardines by Toy Duracoat.
My dad's going to give me a self back. I've made an altar called the Altar for Healing the Father and Child, and asked him what I could do for him so he would do nice for me. He said I should stop saying bad things about him. And since I've said just about everything bad I can think of, and since, well, no. I changed my mind. I can't promise him that. But even healing is negotiable. So if he's in heaven, or trying to get in, it wouldn't hurt to be in touch. The first thing I want is to be able to enjoy the little things again. For example, to stop peeling down the list of things I have to do and enjoy this poem. Enjoy how last night, scouring the cupboards, I found a can of sardines that must be 5 years old. And since I was home after a long trip, and since it was 1 a.m. and I hadn't eaten dinner, and since there was no other protein in the house, I cranked it open and remembered that my dad loved sardines right before bed with onions and mustard. I can't get into my dad's old heart, but I remember the look on his face when he would load mustard on a saltine cracker, lay a little fish on top, and tip it with a juicy slice of onion. Then he'd look up from his soiled fingers with one eyebrow raised, a rakish grin that said, "All for me," as if he was getting away with murder.
The Arrow in the Song by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. I shot an arrow into the air. It fell to earth, I knew not where, for so swiftly it flew, the sight could not follow it in its flight. I breathed a song into the air. It fell to earth, I knew not where. For who has sight so keen and strong that it can follow the flight of song? Long, long afterward, in an oak, I found the arrow, still unbroke, and the song, from beginning to end, I found again in the heart of a friend.
Very Large Moth by Craig Arnold, after DHL. Your first thought when the light snaps on and the black wings clatter about the kitchen is a bat. The clear part of your mind considers rabies. The other part does not consider, knows only to startle and cower away from the slap of its wings. Though it is soon clearly not a bat, but a moth, and harmless, still you are shy of it. It clings to the hood of the stove, not black, but brown. Its orange eyes sparkle like televisions. Its leg joints are large enough to count. How could you kill it? Where would you hide the body? A creature so solid must have room for a soul. And if this is so, why not in a creature half its size, or half its size again, and so on, down to the ants? Clearly, it must be saved. Caught in a shopping bag and rushed to the front door, afraid to crush it, feeling the plastic rattle, loosened into the night air. It batters the porch light, throwing fitful shadows around the landing. That was a really big moth, is all you can say to the doorman who has watched your whole performance with a smile. The half compassion and half horror we feel for the creatures we want not to hurt and prefer not to touch.
Congratulations! You made it through round 2. Alright, we're 2/3 of the way through. And in a few moments, the students who will recite in the final round will be announced. But before we do that, I'd like to introduce the Washington State Arts Commission's Executive Director, Hanan, with a special message.
Thank you, sir, and thank you all. You know, I look forward to this event every year. The work of such talented youth and the thousands of students they represent, it really is inspiring. Now, our mission at the Washington State Arts Commission is to be a catalyst for the arts. We advance the role of the arts in the lives of individuals and communities throughout the state. And our work under the banner of, as you've heard, ArtsWA, includes things like art in public places, grants to organizations, creative district certification, arts in education, our wellness, arts and the military program, the Washington State Poet Laureate program, the Governor's Arts and Heritage Awards, and a lot more. And as we continue to expand the scope of our work, we allow more people to be served and to recognize themselves, we hope, in ArtsWA's programs. And I'm very proud of that achievement and the team that worked so hard to make this happen. Now, the work that we do is made possible by funding from our state legislature. Thank you, state legislature, who are working hard right now, hopefully to put a lot of money into the pockets of ArtsWA so we can give it to you. And also the National Endowment for the Arts. Also, we couldn't do this without them. And much of my work as executive director is helping people understand things like that, understand the value of the agency's work and the importance of investing in the arts and the creative economy. Now, this includes investing, of course, in arts education. And never have those benefits been more evident than in communities as they've been recovering from COVID. And the power and impact of that investment can also be seen and heard and experienced here today, as we are reminded of the power of words and the brilliance of youth engagement in the arts. So it's a pleasure to recognize the ways in which Poetry Out Loud has engaged with other youth empowering programs in Washington State. It mirrors ArtsWA's agency-wide strategy to seek out unexpected partners to uplift the rich cultures found throughout our state. Developing relationships with tribal nations, with the Department of Veterans Affairs, with the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction, with the Department of Health, and a growing list of other public and non-profit organizations has allowed us to expand our impact and to reach more people who now have a chance to better understand the power of the arts and creativity on so many levels. Now, Washington's Poetry Out Loud program partners with Right 253, who you heard from a moment ago, right here in Tacoma, to create unique youth-designed, hand-printed works of art, and then to personalize them for our student champions. Seattle Arts and Lecture creates literary opportunities for youth through their Writing in the Schools program and their annual Youth Poet Laureate cohort. And this is the third year that the current Seattle Youth Poet Laureate has served as MC for the Poetry Out Loud State Final Competition. And addressing over here, we have Say. It is a real pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you for your sense of humor. Thank you also for the beauty of your poetry. So in a few moments, our MC, Pham, will announce the 3 top scoring students, who will then advance to the 3rd and final round of this competition today. And one of them, one of you, will become our 2023 Poetry Out Loud Washington State Champion. And that person will represent nearly 12,000 other participating Washington students when they go to the national competition in Washington, D.C. in May. So congratulations to all of our students here today. Thank you to everyone who has encouraged and supported these 9 regional champions. In fact, I really invite you all to join in a round of applause for all those parents and grandparents and brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles and teachers, professors, and whoever who made this happen. Thank you, families and friends. Please join me in a round of applause to support this. And thank you, students, for sharing your love and understanding of great poetry, truly inspiring us all. So now it's my pleasure to introduce a special guest from the Poetry Foundation, Education Programs Assistant, Angelica Flores. Welcome to Washington, Angelica, and to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Angelica Flores, and I am the Education Programs Assistant at the Poetry Foundation in Chicago, Illinois. My colleagues and I at the Poetry Foundation are thrilled about the return of live Poetry Out Loud performances. And also, one of my colleagues who is with us this afternoon is the Poetry Foundation's Vice President of Programs and Engagement, Idalmi Noriega. Idani is the head of my department, and thanks to her and our team and our partners, Poetry Out Loud continues to impact the lives of so many students. We are both very happy to be here and experience Washington State Finals. The mission of the Poetry Foundation is that we recognize the power of words to transform lives. We work to amplify poetry and celebrate poets by fostering spaces for all to create, experience, and share poetry. Poetry Out Loud embodies our mission because it celebrates young and established poets in tandem. Students study 3 poems in depth and teach the audience the meaning of a poem that we might not have heard of before, or perhaps provide us with clarity and a new perspective of a poem that we have already heard of. The Poetry Foundation is also the publisher of Poetry Magazine. Poetry Magazine was founded in Chicago by Harriet Monroe in 1912. The Modern Poetry Association was founded in 1941 to support the magazine, but has since then evolved into the Poetry Foundation, which was established in 2003 when we received a major gift from philanthropist Ruth Lilly. And because of her generous gift, an endowment was established to fund Poetry Magazine in perpetuity. If any students here today write their own original poetry, or if anyone in the audience here writes their own original poetry and would love to someday publish it, then we welcome you to someday submit your work to our magazine. We hope that you will continue to nourish your love of poetry, whether it's by reading or by writing or by attending live performances like these. And now as we continue to round 3, let's continue to embrace each performance and let's simply be present. Special thanks to Judy Cullen and the Washington State Arts Commission, my colleagues at the Poetry Foundation, at the National Endowment for the Arts, and Mid-Atlantic Arts. And here's to round 3. Thank you.
Before we announce our finalists, we want to honor all 9 of our regional champions completing a Today State Final. Karan, Hanan, and I will be joined on stage by Arts and Program Manager Director Tamar Krames. Families and friends, we're okay with photos during this presentation session, so paparazzi, you are most welcomed here. All right, students, please join us on stage. These are the best of the best in Washington State this year, so please give them a wonderful round of applause. For each student, we have a certificate and a gift bag, which has various poetic goodies, including a blank journal, which might perhaps inspire some of you to continue writing and doing what you do. Okay. Are you all ready? Okay, good. From Spokane, Sydney Frost. From Tacoma, Andrea Jima. From Tacoma, Oliver Jones. From Spokane, Elijah Kennedy Gibbons. From Lake Stevens, Keegan Robb. From Notches, Emily Shoemaker. From Kennewick, Dahami Udawana. From Olympia, Matthew Valentine. And from Squim, Jovi Weller. Family families, friends, educators, and poets in the audience. I don't know how many of you have performed poetry or recited poetry on stage, but it is a lot of work, and it takes a lot that is not easy. So for all 9 of you, please know that we are all very proud of you, and this was an astounding feat. You all did excellent work up here. Thank you so much. Okay, now I'm going to announce the top 3 students who will advance to the 3rd round. Oh, a post-it magically appeared. Okay. These names are not in scoring order. They are not in alphabetical order. They are in random order. Students, if I call your name, please step forward and stay standing forward. Can I get a drum roll, please? Okay, first up from Poetry Out Loud Virtual, Keegan Robb. From Olympia High School, Matthew Valentine. From Annie Wright, Upper School for Girls, Andrea Jima. All right, we'll now go into our second intermission and set up for the 3rd round with our finalists. This intermission is 5 minutes, and during this intermission we'll enjoy some recorded music from the Korean Candy World Orchestra, and we'll start up again in about 15 minutes. So for finalists you have 5 minutes, for everyone else you have more time. Hope you all enjoyed your intermission. I know I did. I went backstage and there's an alien spaceship lurking back there. So good information for you as we proceed into this final round. As we go into round 3, a final reminder to make sure that all your phones and electronic noise-making devices are stowed away. All right. Okay, are they off though? All the phones? Okay, good. It's now my pleasure to begin the final round of our competition today. Can I get a round of applause for our first contestant? Students. It's not a competition. It is, but it's not. Everyone's a winner. Okay, it's my pleasure to introduce Keegan Robb.
Poem by Jory Graham. The earth said, "Remember me." The earth said, "Don't let go." Said it one day when I was accidentally listening. I heard it. I felt it like temperature. All said in a whisper, "Build tomorrow. Make right befall. You are not free. Other scenes are not taking place. Time is not filled. Time is not late. There is a thing the emptiness needs as you need emptiness. It shrinks from light again and again, although all things are present. Fact, day. Bird that warps the arithmetic of perfection with its arc, passing again and again in the evening air, in the prevailing wind, making no mistake. Your indifference is your principal beauty. Mine says all the time. I hear it. I hear it everywhere. The earth said, "Remember me." I am the earth, it said. Remember me. Thank you.
And if I did, what then? By George Gascoigne. And if I did, what then? Are you aggrieved, therefore? The sea hath fish for every man, and what? Would you have more? Thus did my mistress once amaze my mind with doubt, and popped a question for the nonce to beat my brains about. Whereto I thus replied, each fisherman can wish that all the seas at every tide were his alone to fish, and so did I in vain, but since it may not be, let such fish there as find the gain, and leave the loss for me. And with such luck and loss I will content myself, till tides a turning time may toss such fishers on the shelf. And when they stick on sands that every man may see, then will I laugh and clap my hands, as they do now at me. Thank you.
Friendship After Love by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. After the fierce midsummer, all ablaze, has burned itself to ashes and expires in the intensity of its own fires, there come the mellow, mild St. Martin days, crowned with the calm of peace, but sad with haze. So after love has led us, till he tires of his own throes and torments and desires, comes large-eyed friendship with a restful gaze. He beckons us to follow, and across cool, verdant vales, we wander free from care. Is it a touch of frost lies in the air? Why are we haunted with a sense of loss? We do not wish the pain back or the heat. And yet, these days are incomplete. Thank you.
This year's Poetry Out Loud in Washington State. We're good. Held the first ever a Poetry Out Loud original poetry competition, inviting. Oh, it is. Okay, Poetry Ourselves original poetry competition, inviting all school championships and students in Poetry Out Loud Virtual to submit entries. Entries are also welcome of original poems. Judy says she likes chicken. Here is Todd Marshall, 2016 to 2018 Washington State Poet Laureate, to tell you more about this year's inaugural competition and to present the winning poems.
Greetings. I'm Todd Marshall, and I teach poetry writing at Gonzaga University. From 2016 to 2018, I served as the Washington State Poet Laureate. During that service, I had the opportunity to judge the Poetry Out Loud contest on several occasions. I was always impressed by these recitations. The students obviously loved words, and they delivered that passion in the poems they shared. When Judy Cullen asked if I'd be interested in the Poetry Ourselves project, I said yes, and I'm glad that I did. Poetry Ourselves is, as many of you know, an optional poetry contest. The contest is only open to Poetry Out Loud school champions and students participating in the virtual Poetry Out Loud program. As I mentioned, this is the inaugural year of the competition. Consequently, we were thrilled to get 9 poems for consideration. Each of the 9 poems offers an appreciation for language and strong emotion. Wicked Little Me uses a tight rhyme scheme that adds energy to the poem. That phrase gives us an obsessive refrain that invites us into the poet's frustration, only to find at the end of the poem a real joy that seemed so distant at the beginning. Palm reading gives us a memorable ending. Quote, "My fingers ghost over my palm, a cold facsimile of smoldering hands. I feel not a single line." The hidden poet also ends on an evocative assertion. Quote, "Maybe it's not the poems, but the poet." An assertion that reminded me of how these young people are dedicated to poetry, sure, but they're also dedicated to words. And this dedication will lead them to write well, whether they're writing poems or essays or novels. And writing well is the best way to find the best words, which is a great way to discover who you are. Qualifiable dances around the occasions, nearly every occasion when this word is used. It's quite clever in that dance. Lover's Infirmity invites us into a broken-hearted world filled with raw emotions and, quote, threatening tongues, a frightening place to be. The last lines of Servant Leadership are a fitting conclusion for a poem that explores history and work and dedication. All these poems show creativity and talent and the same love for language that drives the Poetry Out Loud competition. In Poetry Out Loud, students learn poems by heart so that they might share them. In Poetry Ourselves, students reach inside themselves to find poems to share. Both endeavors are admirable beautiful, and part of a dedicated pursuit of language that is worthy of high praise. In this year's contest, I chose True Beauty as the winner of the second place prize. Besides control of language, the poem is driven both by an obsessive, observant eye and a subtle attention and sensitivity to the question of what is scarring, an emotional wound or a physical wound, or perhaps most poignantly, both. True Beauty. I could not tell if she was beautiful, for I could not see her face, eyes, a mouth, a nose, and scars. Everywhere, scars. The ghosts of angels left markings on her face. It was not fair, but it was right. For I could tell in her silver gray eyes that she was dead, inside or out, I have yet to discover. But we all know one is worse. The scars on her face will not destroy her unless she chooses it. They are everything and nothing. They are a blessing, they are a curse that shields my eyes from her face. It's very hard to choose one poem from a group of so many accomplished works. I think, though, that some things I've learned this summer really stood out for a couple of reasons. The imagery of the poem allows a reader to connect with the words on the page directly through the senses. We feel the water. We feel and smell the sister's sweater. At the end of the poem, we can see the moon. Simply, the work combines sensitive awareness of body image, awareness of sadness about a sister leaving, even though the sister was sometimes angry. Subtle yet poignant, this is an excellent poem, written with control and restraint. I admire it a great deal. Some things I've learned this summer. Don't worry. You can buy noise-canceling headphones on the internet, or you can jump in the lake and float with your ears submerged and let the water drown out everything but your breathing. In the worst case, you'll cough on a bit of water and have saved $200. You can wear swimming suits or borrowed t-shirts to hang off your shoulders. Your body won't change, no matter how hard you will it to. You don't need to fear speaking so much. They aren't here for your small talk. You don't have to stuff the pauses with quiet questions until they send so and sorry, this isn't very entertaining, tumbling out of their seams. Talking isn't all you're good for. It isn't. It isn't scary. It isn't. You can borrow a sweater from your sister's closet and return it days later, or forget for a week and she won't notice. Her boxes left last Tuesday. You come to miss her anger. You'll miss her. You can turn 16 and look at the moon. It won't see any difference. You'll be older. It'll be August. You still won't know. Our state is very lucky to have Arts Washington. The young people in our state are very fortunate to have both the Poetry Out Loud and Poetry Ourselves programs. In my opinion, there are few things more important than an appreciation for language and skilled use of language. Nevertheless, I want to add one more thing. We are all very lucky to have young people committed to words, to the art of poetry, to arts in general. Very, very lucky. Thank you for your time.
Finalists, will you join us, please? Let's do this together.
All right, I know the suspense is very suspenseful right now, so I was hoping we could do a drum roll, but in a more suspenseful way. So if you look, it goes clap, right foot, left foot. Okay, ready? Okay. Our first honorable mention goes to
Keegan Robb. POL Virtual.
And in second place,
Andrea Juma.
you know who it is, but we're gonna do it anyway. That means that our 2023 Washington State Poetry Out Loud champion is
Matthew Valentine.
Congratulations, Matthew, and Keegan, and Andrea, and everyone. Well, thank you everyone so much for being here today and supporting the program and listening to all of these amazing recitations. Just wanted to have a few thank yous. Thank you to all of the students, to your families, educators, teachers. It's also not in here, but I wanted to extend a special thank you to Judy Cullen. Judy, will you stand up? And Alexis and the rest of the team, they put so much work and, well, I don't know about sweat or tears, because I don't know, I haven't seen, but tears of joy. Okay, yes, tears of joy. And Kleenex into this program and making this all a special reality. So much gratitude to them. And yeah, thank you also to the Korean Candy Orchestra. You've been amazing. And before I continue on thanking everyone in the entire audience, one by one, and the entire world, I'll just give one last thank you and let you all go for the day. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day.
Thank you.